The world's most wanted drug lord wasn't found by luck. After years of bombings, assassinations, and a nationwide manhunt, one phone call finally revealed where Pablo Escobar was hiding. By the early 1990s, the Medellín Cartel was generating billions in illicit revenue, funding a private army that gave Escobar the leverage to wage open warfare against the Colombian state. He authorized car bombs in commercial centers and ordered hits on judges, journalists, and presidential candidates, effectively paralyzing the nation's political apparatus. Yet the man responsible for this highly visible campaign of terror remained completely out of sight. He moved through the country like a phantom, leaving almost no physical trace for the authorities to follow. In response, the Colombian government assembled the Search Block, a specialized tactical unit backed by intelligence from the CIA, the DEA, and Delta Force. They flooded the region with heavily armed personnel, launching daily militarized dragnets and pouring millions of dollars into a desperate bid to locate him. But the informants stayed quiet, and the physical patrols routinely came up empty. They were hunting a target who left no informants alive and heavily bribed anyone who might speak. He operated through a cellular syndicate structure. Orders flowed down through a series of isolated intermediaries, ensuring the street-level operators never knew where the commands actually originated. For years, the Search Block kicked down doors across the country, finding only lukewarm coffee and hastily abandoned safe houses. He maintained a sprawling network of paid lookouts, from taxi drivers to street vendors. Whenever a police convoy mobilized, Escobar had minutes to vanish before the strike teams even arrived. Constant pressure began to degrade his infrastructure. His top enforcers were captured, his financial networks were disrupted, and his options for movement narrowed. The nationwide hunt slowly funneled him back to the dense, steep hillsides of Medellín, a chaotic urban sprawl where a fugitive could easily disappear among millions of residents. As his territory shrank to these densely packed neighborhoods, his paranoia deepened. He severed his standard chains of communication and locked himself in total isolation. Realizing that hunting for a physical body in that labyrinth was impossible, Colombian and American intelligence shifted their strategy. They started scanning the airwaves, utilizing radio direction-finding technology. By December 2, 1993, a year and a half after a daring prison escape, the isolation was taking its toll. It was his 44th birthday, and he was now completely cut off. He broke his own cardinal rule. Bypassing the couriers and intermediaries, he picked up a handheld transceiver and transmitted on an unsecure radio frequency. He was desperately calling his own son. In a rare moment of vulnerability, the highly disciplined kingpin let his guard down to speak with his family. This map illustrates the response. Intelligence caught the transmission and deployed mobile units, attempting to intersect the live radio waves to calculate the origin. Normally, he kept calls under 2 minutes to prevent a lock, but this time he stayed on for nearly 5. That extra time allowed the electronic surveillance units to successfully cross-reference the signals, pinpointing the exact coordinates to a 2-story house in the Los Olivos neighborhood. A man who had spent billions of dollars outmaneuvering the world's most advanced intelligence networks had finally compromised himself through a momentary lapse in basic operational discipline. Within minutes, a Search Block strike team silently secured the perimeter of the targeted block, sealing off the streets without sounding a single siren. They breached the front door of the hideout with heavy weaponry, surging into the lower floor. Hearing the splintering wood and shouted commands, Escobar realized instantly that his position was compromised. The invisible shield he had maintained for years had shattered. He abandoned the radio and scrambled out a back window, attempting to access the adjacent rooftops to escape the enclosing raid. Barefoot and disoriented, he found himself cornered on the terracotta shingles, surrounded by advancing tactical officers on all sides. The strategy that had terrorized a nation for a decade collapsed into a frantic, claustrophobic sprint across a neighborhood roof. The Search Block opened fire. The final exchange lasted only moments before the fugitive was struck and killed. The death of the cartel's leader immediately fractured his empire, bringing an abrupt end to the bloodiest era in Colombian history. After years of bombings, assassinations, and one of the largest manhunts in history, Pablo Escobar was finally found because of a single mistake.